Okay, I think we're on. Yes, we are. Alrighty, and Jimbo, you can breathe. You can relax. I know one of your biggest things. Ever said you won the Super Bowl. You won the Super Bowl. You
Yes,
came
we
on
did.
to the live stream after the Super Bowl. You were a little intoxicated,
I don't know.
little bit, but even then, right after your Eagles had reached the mountaintop and were right there, confetti still falling. You were like, I gotta tell you, I really hope we go ahead and sign Zach Bond because we need Zach Bond. Like we can't have it if we don't. Like what are we gonna do? We gotta have Zach Bond. We don't have Bond. Like what are we gonna do? I hope we sign Zach Bond. There's something to that effect. And now here you go. The Eagles have signed Zach Bond. A lot of things have happened. We're gonna get to all that right here, right now. But first, we gotta play some music. So, oh wait a minute. Why is this not? Now we're going to play you music. Because again, I can't do a broadcast without fucking something. Welcome everybody here to Stay Tuned Sports. It's your boy King. It's your good friend Jimbo right over there in that box. And if you couldn't tell by the title of today's episode, boy, there have been some moves already here leading up to the beginning of the new league year. I believe next week. I think it's next Thursday,
Yeah,
next Wednesday.
12th.
The 12th, yes. So the day before my father's birthday. Turning 80 years old, the old man is. And can still probably kick everybody's ass. So, I mean, just, this is what I mean. I was talking about him this the other day because, you know, he was like, oh, feeling old and all this other stuff. I was like, Dad, I was like, you don't understand. I was like, I've seen some 80-year-olds. You know, I worked in a group home for a while. I've done work with that, and just in general everyday life. You think about an 80-year-old. I mean, most people will probably think of somebody who looks like goddamn Bernie Sanders or something. You know what I mean? That is not my dad. My dad still looks like he's probably in his mid-40s, maybe 50 if you want to be, you know, if you want to catch him on a bad day, maybe. Still fit, still active. You know, still works every day, still does, like, so yeah, like, you know, it's so when I say my dad's turning 80, don't be like, oh, what a sweet old man. First of all, he's not a sweet old man. He's a son of a bitch. Let's be honest. I love him to death. I love him to death. But
He called into the show. I think some of our listeners think he's a very nice.
I'm sure. Yeah, no, because that's it. He is. He can be. He's very personable, much like myself. You know, very personable. Can be very nice. But a sweet is something I don't think ever has been to use to describe my whole man. But so happy birthday to Dad King of Kings, Dad King out there. That's going to be good. But that's it. His birthday's coming up right after the beginning of the new league year. And again, as we've talked about this, a lot of big moves today. Obviously for you, the big one, Zach Bond, your guy, the guy you were talking about, the guy you again, while the Super Bowl confetti was coming down, you were talking about it. You were all about this guy. So how do you feel now that that he has been signed and that he's ready to go there? 17, what is that? 17 million on the annual, the AAV, whatever that is. And I think it's overall, it's like a 50-something million, I believe. He is the fourth highest paid linebacker in the NFL currently. 3-year, $51 million contract. And he's also got, I believe it's 30-something million.
34.
$34 million guaranteed, and plus there's another $1.5 million that are in incentives, escalators, things like that. So, looking at that deal, looking at that player, you have him locked up for 3 more years now. Jimbo, as the resident Eagles fan, thoughts?
No, I mean, obviously, I'm happy. First off, I didn't know I sounded like Sylvester Stallone Super Bowl night when I was saying.
Oh, it was an evening. It was an evening.
I mean, I am happy. As far as the contract, I'm surprised he got so much guaranteed money. 34 million, out of 51 million. You know, that's roughly 80%. You know, of his contract's guaranteed. For a guy, and you know, not to bash the guy, but for a guy that basically is a 1-year starter. I mean, he's been a special teams player pretty much his whole career. He thought about retiring right after he was a free agent with the Saints. You know, but as far as the Eagles side of it, I mean, the reason why I wanted him to be re-signed was to finally solidify that position. That position has killed us for years and years and years and years. Almost every game, I would say to you, they're going to kill us over the middle because we had no one to cover or, you know, worry about the run, things like that. I mean, really, the last linebacker at, you know, for his position that I could say was like a solid starter was probably like Jeremiah Trotter. Like, I mean, it's been a long time since we had some.
It's been so long that his kid's on a goddamn team.
Yeah. So, but I'm happy with that now, Howie. You know, let's sign Mekhi Becton and let's get Myles Garrett over here.
Well, let's see, because Ari Miroff here on Twitter, he posted all the extensions and their annual new money average that the Eagles have, and this is from Howie. So this is everybody who's got a contract extension. We know Zach's got 17 million AAV. Kicker Jake Elliott, $6 million. Lane Johnson, $20 million. Dickerson, $21 million. Mailata, $22 million. Goddard, $14.25 million. Devontae's got 25, AJ 32, Saquon, obviously we know he got the big contract earlier on this week. Not gonna make the same mistake the Giants did, are we? And Jalen Hurts at 51 AAV. So, Eagles look like they're set for a window here where they can have a Chiefs-esque run. Don't like that.
The only player on that list I think may get a contract restructured or something like that would be Goddard, because of, I mean, 14 million for, he's top 5, top 7 tight end in the league, but past year or two he's been getting hurt a lot. So, you know, maybe they work something out to get a little bit more room in the cap space now. Maybe Lane Johnson. I mean, 20 million and Lane Johnson's one of the best in the league, but 20 million, that's a high cap number.
Just to talk about, because we talked a bit about your Eagles here, about what you guys have been doing, at least as far as either signing, extending, picking up players, releasing players, everything like that. We know that you've also released Bradbury and Slay out of your defensive backfield. I get the release of Slay is a little bit older and things like that. Bradbury is serviceable, but, you know, I guess he's worked his way. Come back to the Giants, Bradbury. We need fucking something, because Shane decided to go ahead and get rid of fucking everybody. The Giants have done nothing. So that's where we are there. So I would love to talk here about some of the moves that the Giants have either made or not made or doing like that. But
well, I mean, maybe Shane is doing something different this year. Maybe he's like, if I don't make any moves, they can't yell to fire me because I didn't make any moves.
Well, at least he doesn't have the HBO fucking cameras in there now. And now we've also learned that the idea that HBO was going to do the off-season Hard Knocks with North Carolina, that was false. Not going to happen. That's been kiboshed, as it were. So even in the college ranks, everybody said, we're not doing what the Giants did. That is, I mean, You want to talk about something that was instantaneously some of the most captivating television that most anybody's ever watched, but also pretty much ensured that it will never happen again. Because I mean, listen, a lot of these teams, and understandably, a lot of these teams don't want to have anything where you see behind the scenes, where you see how the sausage is made, as it were. Not only that, but you happen to catch the Giants in maybe the worst year to do that ever. We're just everything fell apart, like it just it was just nobody came out looking great. Shane looked like ass, Dayball looked like ass, Mara looked incompetent, the team looked bad, nothing. The scouts looked fucking stupid. There was no part of that where the Giants came out looking good in any way, at any point. So every other team said, boy, we're not as dumb as them, but also we're never going to do that. Just in case. Just to hedge our bets. We're not going to. The only way off-season Hard Knocks ever happens again is if the NFL literally forces it on a team.
Yeah.
And they've done it before with the Hard Knocks training camp, because there's some teams that said, no, we don't want to do it. We don't want to do this. And the NFL said, listen, you got to do it. I think they did it with the Bears a little while ago. And they did it with I know the Jets were forced to basically have the Hard Knocks when Aaron Rodgers' first year there. Whoops, tore his ACL. And we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers and that whole situation in a little bit. But yeah, unless the NFL decides to be like, these guys are our partners. They pay us a lot of money over there with the, Warner Discovery, whatever the fuck they're called now, and so you're going to do this. I think that was a one and done thing. The off season Hard Knocks. I don't think you're going to see that again ever.
Yeah, when I saw that Bill Belichick, when it first came out that Bill Belichick and North Carolina was going to do it, I was like, okay, NFL teams are definitely done doing the off season. But then when I saw them come out and be like, no, we're not even doing it, that's when I was like, all right, it's one and done mini series.
Yeah, that's it. And it's going to be just a piece of that time capsule of, hey, do you remember where Joe Shane completely fucked the Giants? I remember watching that. And
like the Vince McMahon meme. Hey, Dad, you want to tell me about Joe Shane?
And ELS, we're going to get to all of that, by the way. ELS in the chat. Chat's open, by the way, everybody. If you want to come in, say hi, say hello, say how you're doing. Also, if you're watching us and you want to help us out at all, please go ahead, hit that like button. Helps us with the algorithm. Same as if you're watching us and aren't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Help us get to that 500 mark, the magic 500 mark, where we'll go ahead and be able to be monetized. Because right now, we can't do anything as far as super chats or memberships or stuff like that, which we would love to do, which would help out the channel tremendously. But those are two things you can do right now for free that can help out this channel. And if you want to do a little bit more to help us out, we also have a link for our donation station in the chat and in the description below this video, as well as our merch store, which I have been peppering with a whole bunch of brand new merch in there. We got hats, we got shirts, we got a whole bunch of new stuff going in there. Got a couple banners as well. We have an Eagles championship banner. We have ourselves a Notre Dame championship banner. And just today, just for you, ELS, by the way, and I did see you checked it out, thank you so very much, a Green Bay Packers championship banner that lists all of their 13 world championships. A lot of people try to always say, they only won 4 Super Bowls, or they only, okay, yeah, but they've also won so many other championships. So, and again, more of those will be coming out. We're going to be trying to do maybe more hats. We're going to be doing a little bit more, especially with the banners, trying to get the banners out there for a bunch of different teams, not just football, some hockey, basketball, things like that. We're going to get it all out there. So please go ahead, check all that out. Check the links in the chat below in the description. Please subscribe if you're not. Now that we've got the plugs out of the way. Again, a lot more happened today. We had and this one, I'm surprised. I'm not surprised, but I am kind of surprised. And it also makes me think, where does Kansas City go from here? Because the Chiefs went ahead and they traded their all-pro guard, slash tackle, I guess, wherever you could play him. Joe Thuney traded him to the Bears. And again, the Bears are now making moves here because they got Thuney today, and then they also picked up Jonah Jackson from the Rams. So they're bulking up this line because again, Caleb Williams, I believe, was the most sacked quarterback last year by a fairly wide margin. So you have the Bears making moves here. I'm sure Justin Fields is pissed. He's like, "Oh, now you decide to go ahead and invest in offensive line, you motherfucker." So you have the Bears doing that, but and we'll get to the Bears in a second. But the Chiefs, I know they have some money in the offensive line already, and so they're looking at Tony. They're like, okay, maybe he's a little bit older. He's coming up on I think he's got he's looking for an extension. I think he's coming up on his last year of his deal. He's 33, things like that. So they saw it as a bit of expendable. But I mean, this is a big risk because Kansas City made it to the Super Bowl again.
Yeah.
Granted, they got mollywopped, but they did make it to the Super Bowl. It was something we saw all year where they weren't able to run like they used to. Mahomes was a lot more pressured than he's ever been before, a lot more uncomfortable. Didn't play as well, didn't have the time or the opportunity to make the Mahomesian kind of plays that we're all used to. You went on top of that. Travis Kelce had a very down year, although he said he's going to come back for year 13. Said he was sick during the Super Bowl. I think Taylor probably sucked a lot of the juices out of him. So there's a lot of that. Wait a minute. I didn't mean to say that as disgusting as it came out. I meant to be more like, just like a succubus or something, like, oh, she took all his energy. Like, I guess she could have sucked all the energy out of him. I don't know. Like, that's a thing. Listen, people are in love, things like that happen. I get it. But again, trying to get back on football here. All of that together, I think this is personally kind of a big risk on Kansas City's part, because if you try to plug a hole there on the offensive line or try to maybe pick somebody up through the draft, or if there is a higher level offensive lineman you can get in free agency, and it doesn't work out, all of a sudden you're going to be talking about, well, Travis Kelce's clearly at the end of his career. Patrick Mahomes is not playing nearly as well. And now we have an offensive line that isn't, playing well. There's no run game. People are going to start saying, oh, that Kansas City window. Look at the slap shut. Jimbo, your thoughts on this? And again, some people might just see it as trading a older offensive lineman, trying to create cap space and things like that, and he was expendable and anything like that. But part of me feels like it might. This feels bigger than it looks to me.
Well, all right. So I'll say it this way: when you posted it in the group chat, your statement came up first, like, "Oh wow." I'm thinking, okay, well, did the Eagles finally get Myles Garrett, or something like blockbuster?
God, no, please.
Blockbuster. And then I saw Tony being traded to the Bears. I'm like, oh, okay. So, like, he may have been the best player on that line last year for the Chiefs.
I think he's been the best player on the offensive line for the Chiefs for a few years.
But even he had a bad year last year. Even going into the AFC Championship game and even the Super Bowl, that was the questions. Can Tony?
Well, I think they moved him around a couple times because of injury. So I don't think he was playing necessarily in his preferred tackle spot. So
like the championship game and the Super Bowl I don't think he was playing his natural spot. But even because I think they moved him over to guard halfway, 3/4 of the way through the season because of, like you said, because of injuries and things of that nature. But I mean, I think it's a, even though I just kind of put him down a little bit, I think it's a good pickup for the Bears because they really had no offensive line. I mean, like when your offensive line, whether it's a guard, tackle, center, is blocking the other guard, tackle, or center of your line. That's not good. But little joke, I was like, oh wow. Like when you did post that, I was like, oh wow, Josh Sweat literally made the Chiefs trade away one of their better players and got them all scared against us now.
Dicky. He scared him away. Oh, look at the Eagles. Just he's got to scurry off to Chicago now. Breaking news! Breaking news! Breaking news! Jack Hughes has underwent shoulder surgery earlier today and will be placed on long-term injured reserve. Jack Hughes is expected to make a full recovery and be available for the New Jersey Devils training camp next September. If I may, 1 second. Fuck!
Now, let me ask you this, because I saw... Let me ask two questions. I saw the hit, or I saw, the play.
Right, where he kind of went into the boards, yeah.
One, how do you feel about the play? And two, did they say it's the same shoulder that he had surgery last season?
I don't see that listed anywhere, but I mean, to me, it's a hockey play. Like, it happens. I don't think it just two guys got tangled up. It's not it wasn't a deliberate trip. It wasn't anything of that nature. And listen, people don't seem to realize that, some boards have give, some don't, but especially when you're sliding on the ice and you hit that bottom where it's like, really, those boards do not fucking give. Yeah. So again, it's unfortunate. Like it's a hockey play, but I it's.
Do you feel like he should have been kicked out of the game? That's the big thing to me. Like, I'm like, it just looked like a tangled up play, and he got kicked out of the game for it.
Again, I don't think so. And that's just maybe that's just I'm such an old school hockey guy. But again, I'm watching the play right now here on Twitter as it had like I'm watching the replays of it, and like nothing about that to me as a Devils fan. I don't know if anybody can see this. Fucking Devils fan. Nothing about that screams malicious intent. Nothing about that screams that's what he was trying to do. There was some stick work. But I mean, it was stick on stick. There's no I'm watching it. He goes to the Las Vegas player there. Is that Stoner? It might have been Stoner number 9. He goes to do the hockey stop and kind of as he's stopping, kind of maybe nicks the back of Hughes' skate, and that's when Jack kind of falls.
That's what I saw.
Yeah, but again, that's to me. That's not. There's not malicious there. That's not malicious. That's not intent to injure. That's not. I'm gonna go ahead and kick the back of his skate. He was trying to stop. He's trying to stop in front of his own net, make a defensive play. Like again, so I don't have anything like that. It just sucks, especially now. I mean, because the Devils have been in a lull anyway. Like we have not been playing well. The way we've been playing, it seems like we're not going to make the playoffs as it is, and this doesn't help. So I just saw that pop up there on Twitter. So
at least they're getting you ready for the Giants NFL season. They got your hopes up.
Constant disappointment. Well, see, here's the difference: is that my hopes were up earlier in the season with the Devils. The Giants never had my hopes up. I was never hopeful about the Giants, and I'm not hopeful about going into this year because again, we still don't have any quarterback on the roster. By the way, and I did see that as well. It's in the ticker. By the way, I made the ticker a little bit bigger for everybody. By the way, just so people can see. I don't know. Has anybody been paying attention? I've been doing I've been doing kind of like an experiment here on the channel. Doing a little bit of an experiment there with kind of doing like a morning news ticker kind of thing, just like a little news wraparound. I don't know how it's going. I'll see if I decide to keep on doing it or not. Again, it's just one of those things. Again, we're new here.
Yeah.
So we're trying new things. We are throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. You can help our shit stick by go ahead and watching everything that we do here. ELS has popped in there a couple times. Crafty Southpaw was in there a couple of times, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, ELS, I did see that as well, that the Devils coach Sheldon Keefe got fined $25,000 for unprofessional conduct.
Breaking news: Raiders signing Max Crosby, 3 years, $106.5 million extension. including 91.5 guaranteed, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Howie, do not trade for Myles Garrett because he's going to get paid more.
Well, that's not exactly breaking news because that came out a couple hours ago. But
Oh, it must be a replay then on NFL Network then.
yeah. Because that's one of the things I was getting ready to talk about here. Because again, we have so much going on.
We'll put that in the chat.
Because as I was seeing that, did you see the Arena Football news that I put? I did see that you were talking about how there's an Arena Football thing going on. I feel bad because I used to love Arena Football, but we're about 20 years past when Arena Football was where it was supposed to be, and it just got so horrifically mismanaged. And now there's a couple there's like 17 minor arena leagues and stuff like that. Like it's unfortunately not what it was, but my interest in the Arena Football has waned very much. Unfortunately, they're ELS. But hey, you got something up there to do. That's not bad. That's not bad. It's not a bad night out. You know what I mean? You go get a couple hot dogs, get a couple beers, watch a couple guys who play semi-pro football give each other CTE for no money. That's a good night out. You know what I'm saying? And yes, just to break some of more ELS's news here, talking about for his Green Bay Packers, because I know he's a big Packer fan. Mason Crosby went ahead and retired. Long-time Packer kicker. Retired now after 16 seasons. So he's gone. And of course, then the Packers, more kicker news, signed Brendan McManus to a 3-year, $15.3 million contract and a $5 million signing bonus. It's good to kick the football, man. You get some money on that one. Hamster in the chat. What's up, brother? Good to see you in here as well. So again, we have a lot to talk about. We touched on the fact that Saquon Barkley got a 2-year, $41.2 million extension. We're the Eagles. We know how to keep our running backs. The Cowboys signed Osa.
Good luck.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Osa O. That's what I'm going to call it. He's just Osa O. He got a 4-year, $80 million contract. The Seahawks have made a lot of moves. As we're talking about, they cut Draymond Jones, Roy Robertson Harris, Rayshawn Jenkins, and George Fant. And of course, today's big news, they went ahead and released Tyler Lockett. And just in case you were wondering, DK Metcalf has requested a trade in which the Seahawks have granted him permission to go and seek a trading partner. So there's something also. Tyler Lockett, as my nephew said,
Say, you guys.
And I love my nephew. He's 14 years old. He's first of all, great football player, great wrestler. He just was in a wrestling tournament this weekend, state championships in Pennsylvania. So very cool, and obviously great football player. He's working. I'm going to be honest, and I'm not just saying it because he's my nephew. Although I am probably, I would say it because he's my nephew anyway. But I'm not just saying from a completely objective standpoint. He's got a great chance to get recruited by a top flight school. He really does. He's 14 years old, and he looks like Max Crosby does right now. That's what I mean. Like when he's on the football field with these kids, he's a freshman in high school, and he looks like a man playing amongst the boys. So
he looks like a Chuck Bednarik to me.
He's
a couple videos you
showed
me.
Big bastard. He is a big bastard. He's fast. He's good. And here's the thing: he can get faster, and he can get stronger, and he can get better if he hits the gym. Get out there, Thomas. Hit the gym. But he's also very smart. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to the game. So when we were talking about this earlier today, we have a group chat also separately with him, and I brought this up that Tyler Lockett was released, and he just goes, "About time. That guy's been washed for 4 years." I was like, Jesus Christ, Thomas. On the top rope. just smashing him. Bang. Oh, Macho Man elbow from the top, straight to the heart. So Tyler Lockett being released after 10 years, does he probably find some place as like a wide receiver 3, 4? Maybe somewhere will pick him up. But DK Metcalf, he's still good.
Yeah.
I think he's still very much serviceable. So I think I think he'll find a place, and fairly well too. He says he wants to go to a contender. No fucking shit. Everybody wants to go to a contender. So that rules out the Giants. But where do you see Metcalf maybe ending up?
Philly. Everybody
Shut
wants
the
to be
fuck.
Philly.
Shut the fuck up. Nobody wants to go. No, stop. Stop
Oh,
it. Stop it.
Actually, I did see right before we got on, Buffalo Bills might be a secret team, and I think that might be a good fit because
That would be something.
we saw Josh Allen with a Stephon Diggs when Diggs was not being a diva, not being a problem. That team was good, and the Bills team was good last year, obviously too. But you put DK Metcalf on that team with Josh Allen, just maybe that would be the year that they finally beat the Chiefs.
That could be so. Again, if the Chiefs are going to go on this kind of precipitous decline here, and that is something. Again, I saw somebody brought up that maybe he goes to the Raiders because of the Pete Carroll connection. That might be the only reason to go to the Raiders, because the Raiders, to me, don't strike me as a team that is on the rise. They see me more as a team that is going.
Well, the other rumor I saw too was Raiders may try to push for a trade for Geno Smith. Maybe as a bridge quarterback type deal, because they're releasing Gardner Minshew.
Right,
So
we know that they're looking for a quarterback. Okay, but then why would Seattle? Who does Seattle have in the wings? Do they even have anybody?
just from what you're reading off there, it doesn't sound like they have many people left. So maybe they merge with the Giants. They got a couple of quarterbacks.
I'm real interested in that. That's If
But
that is something that happens, if that's like, again, I know, again, we're in the silly season, so everything's going to get kind of thrown out there, but
yeah.
that one doesn't make a huge ton of sense to me. But if it does happen, it's like, all right, but then what other pieces are you moving to make that work? I mean, I'm not saying that Geno Smith is a top flight quarterback, but who else you got, and who are you getting if you're Seattle? That would be my question.
Well, Seattle's looking at draft picks. I mean, Raiders are what, top 7 pick? So you give them this year's one and next year's one for Metcalf and Geno. Why not?
By the way, Hamster in the chat says that he watched you lose hockey on the live stream. Did you lose? I saw that you had the NHL 25 live stream. I did not catch it, but you played a game of NHL hockey and you lost.
Yeah. So I played online.
Is that why it was only 25 minute long stream?
Yeah, and really, like, it probably was like a 20-minute. Probably should have been a 20-minute game, but my team sucked. And not to bash the other players.
It was the digital sprites' fault. It wasn't my fault. My team oh god, these computer generated players, they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
That's the thing, though. It was human players playing. They just sucked. And also,
were you playing? You were playing like linked up with team?
Yeah.
Oh.
And the only
stop doing that.
Was, we were playing 3-on-3, and I was playing as a defenseman, but a defenseman that's set for 6-on-6, who's real slow and just has to worry about one spot. So when there was a breakaway, before you know, it was 9-0 when the game finally was over.
ELS, I'm going to look this up to make sure that it's 100%, but ELS giving us a little bit into this DK Metcalf discussion. ELS, and listen, I never have a reason to doubt ELS. My man is on top of it. But the Packers and Seahawks are apparently discussing a trade that would send DK Metcalf to the Green Bay Packers, in which the Packers would then give up their first round. I know it's the 23rd pick, but it's still a first round, and one of their young receivers, Christian Watson. I mean, it's something, because again, the Packers are indeed a contender. Yeah. I mean, that would fit the bill there for DK, but the Packers going to give up a first round pick for DK Metcalf.
I kind of hope that happens.
Why is that?
So we control Jerry Jones even more. That he gave up a 4th round pick or whatever for that Carolina Panther kid.
Oh, the Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah. And then Debo Samuel. Yeah. No.
Well, Debo. And this is like Washington. And again, Washington, I still think they. It's hard to say that, man. They still got a lot of building to do. They weren't in the NFC Championship fucking game this year, right? So it's not like, oh, they. But and this may be the part that's scary, is that if they have to work on the defense, they have to shore up the defense. But right now, man, if Washington just gets a decent defense, if they get a fairly competent defense, like I said, we talked about the Eagles and how they have a window here to maybe kind of have a Chiefs-esque run of, making 2, 3, 4 Super Bowls in 5 years or whatever it is. All of a sudden, Washington's coming out of nowhere and being like, they look like a team, not just in conference, but in division, that can be a roadblock for them into doing that. And it's like,
I'm keeping an open mind with Washington next season, just because of we saw what happened to the Texans this past season. Going into the season with the Texans, they were supposed to be, Super Bowl, this, that, the other thing.
This is what I'm saying, though, that Washington has to do differently than the Texans, is because the Texans, again, they were good in that first year with C.J. Stroud, but then they never addressed the defense. And that, again, was a big problem for them. And then, again, you have a year where everybody's got tape on C.J. Stroud. So, again, I understand that as far as the offensive side. But this is what I'm saying. If you can go ahead and get and address the defensive problems that you had in Washington, who could not stop the run, could not stop the pass. You were basically relying on Jaden Daniels to outscore the other team. That was what. And listen, it worked for most of the year until the NFC Championship game. But it worked for most of the year. But this is what I mean. If you can get a defense that can actually stop these teams, and you don't get the sophomore slump from Jaden Daniels and the Washington offense, now you're talking about they're not just winning by 3 points because it's 38-35 or whatever. Now it's 38-14, 38-17. Now they're blowing teams out. So, and then when you have a game against the Eagles, that's going to be 80s, 90s style NFC East football there. So, very interested to see how Washington handles this offseason, especially when it comes to the defense and how they address the defense. Jumping back to DK Metcalf here just for a second. Our boy ELS in the chat, which, by the way, chat's open. If you want to come in, say hi, say hello, say how you're doing. ELS says that Wicks is the one that's being tossed around as maybe being the Packers receiver that is sent to Seattle along in this trade. He says, and there's more, and wait, there's more. For the Seahawks to trade DK Metcalf to the Packers, Seattle wants the 23rd overall pick, which is the Packers' first round pick, and either Romeo Doubs, fuck no,
out of here,
or Dontavian Wicks, which again you said. And that's the thing. If I'm the Packers, man, I like both of those guys. And so you want our first round pick and one of the, if I'm the Packers, I'm like, one or the other.
Or if you want one of my receivers, then the first round gets dropped down to
I was going to say a 2 or 3 or something. I'm going to say, listen, Washington just got Deebo Samuel for a 5th.
Yeah.
Now, you could sit there and say that, oh, well, San Francisco got fleeced or whatever like that, and that's fine. But, I mean, the market right now is telling me what the market is. And DK Metcalf, while good, is still a little bit older. He's been around for a bit, so ELS says that he'd give up Wicks in a heartbeat. So if that's the feeling from Cheesehead Nation here, if that's the feeling from the Packers, I guess maybe maybe we'll have to ask ELS there. ELS says a little fine. Maybe we'll ask Tom Grassi and see what he says. Maybe how does he feel about it?
Maybe I'd be okay with Wicks. If I was a Packers fan,
if I'm a Packers fan, I know Wicks was good. I guess I would feel better with Wicks over Dobbs. I would not. I do not want to get rid of Dobbs.
Yeah, no, I'd keep Dobbs because then you would have Metcalf 1, Watson 2, and then Dobbs 3. So
That
you
is
have,
not a bad wide receiver core. That is
yeah,
not a bad wide receiver core at all. So, I mean, I get at the end of the day,
yeah,
when you look at it that way, I guess if you look at it that way, not bad.
yeah.
It's not bad. Uh, Hamster says the Falcons are going to go to the Super Bowl. You've only seen the tip of our penis.
What are you talking about? Kirk Cousins is not going anywhere. They're keeping him.
Kirko! Well, not only that, who's going to fucking take on that contract? The only way the Falcons will be able to move Kirk is if they picked up his like a significant portion of his contract.
Yeah,
And none of that, but you're gonna have to like who's gonna want to have a quarterback who just got $100 million payday and got benched by a rookie.
yeah,
Now, granted, here's the thing: if we go back to what was it, 2004, when the New York Giants drafted Eli Manning, and we had Kurt Warner, and Kurt Warner did not play particularly well when he was with the New York Football Giants, was replaced by Eli Manning. We know that, and then he got traded to Arizona and took Arizona to the Super Bowl.
yeah,
So, is it possible for Kirk O'Chains to go ahead, go somewhere else, and bring a team to success? Absolutely. But you're gonna, if I'm that team, you're gonna have to if I'm gonna get Kirk Cousins, I'm telling Atlanta, you got to mitigate that risk. You have to pick up some of that contract. It's not our fault that you gave him a contract that is impossible to fucking move. That's
yeah.
your fault. But also, to everybody who kind of shit on Atlanta for picking up Penix in the draft when they did,
And again,
as I
let's see.
said draft night, because I like the pick. Everybody shit on the Falcons, and I was like, I understand where they're coming from. I think that's actually a pretty decent pick. Why are you going to pay $100 million? Falcons look like they made the right fucking decision, didn't they? Didn't they? Just saying.
They could have saved a lot of money if they just went with Progressive.
Or switch to Geisco. Geisco? Geisco?
Is that
Geisco.
the new one?
Geisco. They have a chameleon, not a gecko. It's a completely different thing. 2004 was 21 years ago. It is fucking wild how fast time moves, man. I think 20 years ago, I think it's 1978 or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's where I am. I'm like, 20 years ago is from before I was born. Oh, no, wait, I'm 43 fucking years old. Shit! Not great. It's not great. ELS says, well, I'm from 2004. Oh, Jesus Christ. ELS, thank you so much for making me feel dead. And like I'm just waiting to jump into the casket. Thank you so very much for all that. Again, we have so much more. The Jets, again, we talked a little bit about Saquon. He got his 2-year extension. We talked about that. We talked about the Seahawks and their situation. We talked about the Rams trading Jonah Jackson to the Bears, as well as the Bears getting Thuney there from the Chiefs. The Eagles, we talked all about them. Enough to talk about them. Saints released Jamal Williams. Hopefully somebody else can pick him up so we get a little bit more Pokemon and Naruto press conferences. Love Jamal Williams, man. My man is great. And what else did I want? Oh, the Jets. Now, we know they moved on from Aaron Rodgers. We also know that they have released Devontae Adams. Now, from what we understand at this point, the scuttlebutt, the understandings around the NFL circles is that Rodgers and Adams are going to be a package deal. If you pick up one, you're picking up the other. And so now you have to start looking at some teams there where either both of them can go. I mean, we can still look at separate and see who goes where or do whatever, but if we're looking at where both of them can go, excuse me. I think if there are a package deal, I think that obviously rules out Aaron Rodgers for the Raiders because Devontae's not going back there. But I think Pittsburgh then is still in play. And The one where apparently the betting odds are on. If you go look at FanDuel or any of the other betting sites, the New York Football Giants. Um, and again, I understand there's a lot of Giants fans who are not for this, and I get it. We're in this. We saw what happened over at Florham Park. There, we saw what happened with our neighbors there in the Jets. Jets. Um, but maybe it can work this time. Because here's the thing too, and somebody brought it up on one of the talk shows today, and it does ring true. If Rodgers doesn't get hurt 4 plays into that first year with the Jets, I don't think it's this bad. I don't think it would have been this bad.
No.
I think that season kind of fucked up a lot of things for the Jets, for the personnel, for the coaches, because once that happened, you started getting everything, all the stuff that was coming out of the locker room about Saleh losing control, not having control of everything, which he didn't have control beforehand. I mean, again, go read some of Diana Rossini's stuff. Like, you could say maybe she just has a hard on for, shitting on the Jets organization. But the stuff, I mean, usually where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
And Diana Rossini is very smoking. But also, like, report after report after report after report after report after report after report. And it's just like, and especially after the Rodgers injury, the feeling around the Jets locker room, organization, everywhere around there was, we are completely giving up on this season, and we're gonna go around again in 2024. And it feels like there was already a disconnect after that. Like the players disconnected, they disconnected from the coaches, they disconnected from the leadership. Everything's there. Then everything else came out about how what's his name, Brick or whatever, the 13-year-old kid of Woody Johnson was making the fucking decisions based on Madden. And then we have Woody Johnson getting an F in the NFLPA rankings, the only owner to get an F. And just like the organization itself, everything about the Jets is a mess. So how much of that do you place on Aaron Rodgers, and how much of that do you place on the organization? Because again, if you look at the organization and you look at everything on paper, and again, I know the game's not played on paper, but it's the same problem that the Cowboys have had for 20 years, is that on paper, the Cowboys have always had one of the best teams. For real, talent-wise, the Cowboys should have made it to at least 3 or 4 Super Bowls in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Should have. Instead, they haven't even made it to an NFC Championship game in 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, that's a problem. And that's a symptom of organizational chaos and issues. And if you look at the Jets, that defense they had, the offense they set up, they had 2 rookies they had the offensive and defensive rookie of the goddamn year in 2023. They had a defense that was being talked about as maybe being an all-timer. You had this offense that had Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, and you had Aaron Rodgers coming in there, and then this year they picked up Devontae Adams. I was like, oh, this is, and it didn't work. Why? Because the organization was wild. And then that's the thing. I think if you're going to get rid of Robert Saleh, you should have done it in the offseason. They didn't. But then when did they do it? In week 5. Well, that's too late then to do anything, because now you're putting it into the hands of like, you took the defensive coordinator, made him head coach, so now he can't pay attention to the defense. And if you notice, once they made the switch, the Jets defense went to shit.
Yeah.
And it's just it's just organizational incompetence, organizational chaos leads to that. That being said, the Giants aren't much better when it comes to that. So, will, if that does happen, if the Giants do pick up Aaron Rodgers, if they do pick up Devontae Adams, does it help them? Because as we talked about many times on this show, if Shane and Dable do not win and win right out of the gates, they are probably not making it to week 10. And that's giving Mara credit if that does happen, but because they should have been fired this year after the season. But listen, Shane should have been fired after fucking Hard Knocks. Let's be honest. But Mara's going to give him another shot. All right, fine, whatever. What am I going to do? I'm not in a position of power. I can't do anything about it. There's a lot of things in this world happening right now where if I was in a position of power, I would do things a little bit differently. But we're not there, so we can't do it. So if they try to make a desperate last stand, try to keep the jobs by getting at least, because again, I've said this before. I've talked to my dad about it. Talked to you about it. I've talked to people in the group chat about it. I've talked to my apparently absolutely merciless nephew Thomas about it. Is if they do this, you have to win at least 8 games.
You got to be above 500.
You have to at least be at 500 or above 500. You have to be, or you're losing your jobs.
Yeah.
You have to, and work on that. But then people are also saying, well, you got to look for the future. My contention is there is not a franchise quarterback in this draft right now. People are talking about Cam Ward. People are talking about Shedeur. Listen, Cam Ward, I think, could be a serviceable quarterback. I don't think he's going to be great. Again, that's just me. If you watch some of the games that Miami played this year, there's raw talent there. He can make some miraculous plays and some very good plays, and he's, of course, he's very athletic and does all this stuff. But I don't know if I'm going to base my franchise on him, just on that. And Shedeur Sanders, if his father wasn't Dion, nobody would know who the fuck he is. I'm sorry. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, there's nobody, there's not a franchise quarterback out there, at least to me. Again, we can look back on this in 5 years and we can all make fun of me for, when Jalen Milroe or something wins 3 straight Super Bowls or some dumb shit, or who the fuck knows. Or Will Howard or somebody like that. But if you're the Giants and you do this, maybe you, could Aaron Rodgers be a bridge until Arch Manning decides to come out? And then you throw all your egg. You pull a Saints, you pull a Mike Ditka, and you throw all your draft picks, players, whatever you need to do at the team with the number 1 pick. Hopefully it's not you. And say, we'll give you everything. We just need Arch Manning. Yeah. And pull out any and all stops that you have to in order to get him. Is that something that happens? I think it's possible because, again, I think the goal for Shane and Dable right now is secure their job, and you have to do that by winning now. So you have to make the moves, and you have to make decisions to win now. Now, if you sign Aaron Rodgers and you sign Devontae Adams, that is really only a 2-year window. I think Devontae might be 3, but I think even only 2 there. So
good for Aaron.
So and Aaron, you're looking at probably like a 2-year window there, which would line up perfectly with getting Arch Manning or something. So I think if you do that and you're able to at least get to, I'm not saying you're going to make the playoffs. Lord fucking knows we're not making the fucking playoffs. But if you're able to do that, invest in the offensive line, because that's the other thing too. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to be like, listen, I'll come to the Giants, but you have to get offensive linemen, because I played the last year and 4 plays with the Jets, and the reason I only played 4 snaps in the last one was because of the offensive line, and also, the offensive line got me killed this year too. So, rule 1, you have to invest in the offensive line. So if you're able to do that, you're going to have Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Malik Neighbors as your air game. Tyrone Tracy, who has turned out to be, I think, to me, the hidden gem for the Giants. He's done very well. If you could then pick up somebody on the defense for an edge rusher, and just fucking dump Kayvon Thibodeau because he's been a fucking
No,
bust.
I think he's a good player.
Shut the fuck up. And honestly, see if you could pick up Bradbury and Slade for the fucking defensive backfield. It's at least something. You're not going to get anybody on the caliber of Xavier McKinney, who you decided to let fucking go last year. But it'll be a step up than what we fucking had. And again, with the Giants having Andrew Thomas come back from injury on the offensive line as the anchor, if you just get a couple of pieces here and there, like, it's not too wild to say that the Giants can get to 8-9, 9-8.
Yeah, it is wild if you're bringing both Rodgers and
If
Adams.
if Rodgers can have time to throw the football. Because again, you look at like this, you look at it like he did not play terrible with the Jets. He didn't.
No, he didn't play that bad with the Jets, but you know, you had Garrett Wilson complaining he's not getting his snaps or his looks because Devontae Adams and Malik Neighbors is going to be in the same boat if Devontae Adams comes to New York. Now, if Aaron Rodgers comes alone, then I think they have a good shot for 8-9 wins. But if Devontae Adams comes with Rodgers, you'll be looking for a new head coach and GM by week 5.
What? I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Why? Like, it's, if anything, you're gonna be able to, like, because here's the way. Here's how I'm gonna look at it, and we can argue about it and doing like that, and we know how much Aaron trusts and loves Devontae and that he'll favor him or do something like that. But I truly believe, I mean, when you look at it, like, Malik's going to be still wide receiver 1 in that situation simply because he's going to be able to get behind defenses. He's got the speed, he's got the talent, and he can catch anything thrown near him. And there's the difference. As much as I love Daniel Jones, as much as I speak up about him, listen, there's not too many quarterbacks in the history of this league that are as accurate and as strong of a throwing arm as Aaron Rodgers, even now. Right. So you have Aaron Rodgers throwing darts to Malik Neighbors, what? And then and again, it provides that conundrum. It provides that defensive problem of who do you cover, who do you double? You double Malik Neighbors. That's going to leave his old trusty standby Devontae Adams there. And then if he starts going with Devontae Adams and they double him, you're going to leave this fucking Lamborghini alone? Like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, so
he's given up. He's going to be half-assing his routes and shit because he's not getting his looks.
See, this is and you think Malik Neighbors is a George Pickens?
No, not yet.
You're looking at him as a George Pickens.
Not yet.
And I don't think we're there. I don't think we're there.
The way he took shots at, and me and you both agree about Dable coaching is terrible, but the way he was taking shots at the coaching and the play calling and things like that, like, if you got an issue with the play calling, keep that in-house or reword how you're saying stuff. Don't make it so obvious.
No, and I'll tell you why. Because fuck that fat Ozempic sucking fucking piece of shit. So, in that case, me and Malik, simpatico. I got you. I'm with you, Malik. So, trust me. When he came out, and I know there were some people like you were like, oh, he's too big. He needs to, you can't say that and do that. Yes, you can. Because Dayball last year sucked ass. So,
yeah, AJ Brown said it. You said the exact same thing I just did now. And bashed AJ Brown for opening his mouth, and that should have been.
Yeah, but that's because he's in Philadelphia. So exactly. I mean, but anything in Philadelphia makes you more scummy. Like, we know that, and plus AJ Brown has a history. So, I mean, that's how we got out of Tennessee, and he almost got himself out of Philly, which good for him that he didn't. Good for you that he didn't. But it was dicey there for a second when it came to old AJ Brown. In the chat, ELS says if Devontae Adams doesn't go with Rodgers wherever he ends up, he does think that Devontae Adams will return to the Packers. Man, funniest thing in the world. What if Aaron Rodgers completes the Favre? What if he does the Favre?
That's what I'm pulling for.
Signs 1 year with Minnesota.
Yeah.
while JJ sits behind him and gives a little Hall of Fame. What if, dude? If that happens, it'll be the fun. It would be the funniest thing ever. Don't get me wrong. It would for the memes alone. It would be great.
Yeah. And the only thing I want to point out to our good ELS, our good friend ELS, so far his Green Bay offense for next year, he has Watson, Dobbs, Metcalf, Devontae Adams as his
Well, the trade isn't done yet. Relax on already giving the Packers fucking Metcalf. All right, but imagine imagine if that trade does go through.
Yeah.
They would have, just like you were saying, they would have. But Jordan Love would just. Pew, 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 pew.
What's the play call? All go. What's the next play call? All go.
Also, just to it's me Madden. It'd be like me Madden when I was 13 years old. All streaks, just go down the field. I'll just throw it up there. 4th and 36. Just fucking throw it.
Maybe if Green Bay gets that, they can shut up about the tush push then.
I was gonna make a tush push joke, and I'm glad you jumped in there beforehand. ELS says that he wants Rodgers to go to the Vikings so that he can laugh at his cousin, and the Packers can go ahead and sweep the Vikings, and he can do his. Be careful what you wish for, because you never know. That Vikings team, that defense is still very good. So I mean, and imagine if you go ahead, if you're the Vikings, then you'll have Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams on your side. You get Rodgers gets to reconnect with Aaron Jones in the backfield.
Yeah.
Oh boy, look at that! All of a sudden, the Minnesota Packers starting to work it. So there was a lot of dude. There's been so much that has happened. Again, just trying to look through here. I'm on Twitter looking at all the different things that have happened here. By the way, apparently there's a list here of all the free agent wide receivers this season. Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin, Amari Cooper, Brandon Cooks, Marquise Brown, Darius Slayton, DeAndre Hopkins, Elijah Moore, Deontay Johnson. Although I thought DeAndre Hopkins retired.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, so I don't know why Ari went ahead and put this is from Ari Miro, by the way, My Sports Update on Twitter. Deontay Johnson, De'Ami Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Josh Palmer, Mike Williams, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, Van Jefferson, Robert Woods, DeMarcus Robertson, Tyler Boyd, Tutu Atwell, Noel Brown, KJ Osborne, DJ Chark, Marquise Valdez-Scantling, Nelson Aguilar. Oh, Aguilar is still a free agent out there. He can still do some work for somebody.
I was ready to catch that baby.
Dude, that is still one of the greatest clips of all time. No, see, it's things like that make me want to like Philadelphia, and then I remember it's Philadelphia, and I'm like, no, not gonna do that. But the Browns have announced that Pro Bowl guard Joel Bitonio got back goal. He will be returning for his 12th NFL season and will not retire, which apparently he was talking about maybe possibly doing. And we seem to have something here. Oh, yes. T. Higgins got franchise tagged. I believe he and there was somebody else, but there was only 2 franchise tags that happened. T. Higgins got franchise tagged for the 2nd straight season, as the Bengals say that they want to try to get a long-term deal done without it being on the franchise tag, but they've gone ahead and tagged him anyway. So that's going to be a little. It's either get a deal done or you're playing under the tag. So T. Higgins is probably not going to be happy, and if they don't get a deal done, he's probably going to try to force himself out of there, force a trade or do something like that. Which, come on, T. Come on over. We got Malik Neighbors. You get T. Higgins. Then you add Devontae Adams to the mix. Have Aaron Rodgers throw it in. Come on. New York Giants. Super Bowl 20. I'm back in. I'm all the way back in, baby. Super Bowl 60. New York Giants. We can do it, baby. Woo!
I'll tell you what. If Aaron Rodgers were to sign with the Giants, that would make some of the free agents maybe think about coming to the Giants. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I mean. Because there is no reason anybody wants to go to the Giants.
like right
Even
now,
ESPN talked about it.
you literally, like you said, you literally have no quarterback signed to the team.
We
Right now,
have nobody, and we're a very undesirable location because our organization sucks, our GM sucks, our team sucks, our field turf sucks, our stadium sucks, everything sucks. Uh, so if you can get something like that, if you can get like a Rogers and an Adams in there, or maybe you pull somebody in, or somebody says they want to get traded because do that, and that's a still a big maybe because Rogers has got a lot of baggage with him. So again, I don't think Rogers is a cure all. I don't think he's a fix all, but he's better than what we got because right now we've got fucking nothing. We got nothing. We got zero. So something, even if it's a one, even if it's a 0.0001,
yeah.
is still better than zero. It's still better. So, so again, we talked about it. There's been a ton of stuff. We got a lot of that out there. It's been really a big, heavy football show. And also, by the way, in honor of their 50th anniversary, the Buccaneers will also be adding, along with their regular uniforms and alternate uniform, they will be adding the white road version of their creamsicle uniforms for this 50th anniversary season. Let's go! Bucko Bruce, creamsicles, let's go! Excited.
Nice.
Excited for that. So all of that being said, Jimbo, I think I think that we can wrap a bow on this one. Again, tons of NFL stories, and I know there's stuff that we missed probably, but I think we hit a lot of the major points, a lot of the talking points with a lot of these teams, and who was signed, who was released, who's going where, trade rumors, why the Giants still suck, why the Eagles might go on a fucking Chiefs-like run, and of course, my devil season being over because Jack Hughes went ahead and fucking broke his fucking shoulder. So great times here. Jimbo, any other thoughts, parting thoughts before we get the fuck out of here?
The only other parting thought, and I brought up in the group chat, the report is Brandon Graham did re-tear his
Tricep.
bicep.
Was it bicep or tricep?
I think it was the back one, so that's
tricep.
In the Super Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
which means he's pretty much going to be, if he does decide to come back, he'd be out for the season anyway. So he was already contemplating retirement. Listen, dude, 2 Super Bowls, one of the iconic plays against Tom Brady, another one like you said, basically gave your arm for another Super Bowl.
Small price to pay for a ring, baby. Small price to pay for a ring.
Go sit down next to Jason Kelsey and have a couple beers.
That doesn't sound bad. So there we go. By the way, everybody, thank you so much. I've had a lot of coffee today. But thank you so much for joining us here on Stay Tuned Sports. If you like what you watch, please hit that like button. If you're watching and not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. If you want to help us out monetarily, since we are not yet monetized, but again, if you subscribe and get people to subscribe and share us around and let people see us, that certainly would help, and I certainly would appreciate if you did that. If you want to help out in a more monetary fashion, we do have a link for our donation station in the description below this video, as well as our merch store, which for the first time in a very long time, I can say we're adding stuff all the time. We're adding new stuff because there has been a flurry of new merchandise in there. So go check that out. If you like what you see, please buy something that helps us out, again, tremendously. And we cannot thank you enough for all your support, for everybody there. ELS, Hamster, Crafty Southpaw, Pecan, which, by the way, I went and checked our donation station for the first time in a while because since we haven't done a lot of lives, I didn't think we were getting donated. Pecan also kept on donating to us. By the way, he's donated $35 total to us, accumulated after a while. So that's why I kind of changed his spot there. Instead of just saying that he's given us 15, Pecan has actually given us $35. So I've had that listed there in the in there. If you want to go ahead and beat that, you go ahead, donate into the donation station, and you can have your name there in the bottom scroll. But until we got anything coming up this weekend? You got any? Is there any boxing, bare knuckles, sport, anything going on?
Bare knuckles. I am gonna do another hockey live
hockey stream. Okay, all right.
Stream. Hopefully, I have a better outcome. I was hoping Crafty Southpaw came in here to see what he meant by My stream looked like a LSD trip. Maybe that's the 9-0 ass whooping I took.
Maybe that's maybe it makes you want to go ahead and drip on acid if you're seeing 9-0 happen. That's probably something that's not great. But we'll see. And also, hey, if you want to, if you have seen the ticker that we've had here in the mornings, our morning sports news ticker gives you all the scores and some of the top stories that happen. If you like it, if you don't, anything like that, go to our social media. Let us know. Comment. Post on our social media on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram. It's all at ST Sports Podcast. Wherever you go, Jimbo's is at Jimbo ST Sports. Mine is at King_ST Sports. Let us know what you think, whether we should keep it or not. If you have any other ideas or thoughts of things that we should do, shouldn't do, anything like that, go ahead and let us know over on our social media site. So again, until I guess later on this weekend, where Jimbo goes ahead and plays NHL 25 and gets his ass kicked again. My name is King. That's your good friend Jimbo right over there, and we will see you later. Thank you so much, everybody. Adios.